Let's get busy. Welcome back once again to our podcast. From a street point of view, our brothers keepers, and that's who we are. Today we have a guest, Mr. Reginald Shanklin, originally from East St. Louis, now living in Mount Vernon. What we want to do now is people ask you a question, part of my speech. What we want to do is ask you a question about your father's businesses. People know about your father's businesses. So can you give us a little background on that?
Yes, my dad chose to start a liquor store business. He started off with being a co-partner with the individual and then decided to venture from there. And from there, he started his own business, which was on 75th and State Street, which was in conjunction to a pizza parlor. It was Shanklin's Packaged Liquor. So from there, it sprang forth to him having another retail liquor store, which was on 39th and State Street. Throughout the years, my dad had various retail liquor store businesses in the East St. Louis. So that's kind of like where I guess the Shanklin saga began.
Great. So you mentioned also that where you went to school at and the fact that that mostly non-existent now.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yes, I went to various schools. I started off at Warren G. Harding School, and it's no longer there. It's just a big plot of land. Then I went to Martin Luther King Junior High School, and it's non-existent as well. And then I ventured on to Lincoln Senior High School, which is closed down as well. So the schools that I went to in the East St. Louis area, unfortunately, is no longer in existence, which is really sad because kind of like the history of some of my personal upbringing is kind of like non-existent. So,
Great stuff. So one of the reasons why we're talking to you today is to ask you about your book, Inspirational Quotes. So I'm going to just elaborate a little bit about myself. I come from a bad place too, and had to end up turning my life around. But that's another story. We wanted to talk to you about your book,
yes.
Inspirational Quotes. We'll let Rickathon expound on that.
My name is Rickathon. I'm Ernest's partner in this mission of helping others return to society. And you have a very inspirational book here called Inspirational Quotes that we'd like to talk more with you about, because anything that inspires here in this city needs to be promoted, because inspiration, I find, has been taken away from our people here in this city. There's nothing to aspire to do or be. So the more inspiration we can give the residents of the city and the world, for that matter, the better off the whole situation will be. You say in your book, you say you came over a lot of adversities here in East St. Louis. Could you go over some of those adversities with me?
Yes, within my life, I've been in and out of prisons. So I've been to various different prisons in the state of Illinois. I ran away from home, been in and out of different foster homes, got associated with the Department of Children and Family Services. So a variety of different things, as far as my criminal mindset and the lifestyle that I chose to live in the past. I chose to engage in a lot of that riding up and down the streets, in and out of clubs, just chasing up behind a variety of different women. Just had no thought, no pathway as far as a future. Although I had aspirations and although I did have dreams, I didn't choose to invest in those.
Right.
So a lot of those talents that I've had kind of like
Fell
was
to the
tossed.
wayside.
Yeah, I didn't disregard them, but I didn't choose to cultivate them. So it's kind of like they was just stagnant.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned something about, if you have a dream, you have to invest in it. You can't just expect your dream to happen. So if it's something that you aspire to be, you have to put yourself in the lane to be rewarded with that, so to speak. Because if I want to do something, I'm gonna put myself around those people that are doing what it is that I want to do. So if I want to be a drug dealer, so I'm gonna go hang around with drug dealers, so to speak. If I want to be an accountant, I'm gonna find someone who's an accountant and hang out with them. So you are inspired by the things that you see, and sad to say, East St. Louis doesn't have a lot to see, and that leads to no inspiration. What do you think the children and the people of East St. Louis need to do to get inspiration and be inspired?
Well, I think, and I'm looking back on my life and kind of like analyzing what I feel could have been implemented in my life. Excuse me, and that was a support system. I did not have a great support system, and it's kind of like what you just was speaking about in terms of like-minded stick together.
Right.
So if you associate with accountants, your likelihood of you are choosing to kind of like take that in and allow that to be
greater.
And allow that to be a structure or a foundation. However, I didn't have that support, and one thing I do apologize to everyone is that, first of all, I want to give the respect to our big brothers. I appreciate y'all organization that y'all have and the reaching out to the community, within East St. Louis and other various communities. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciate y'all allowing me the opportunity to be here. Okay. So that is kind of like an essence of a support. Being able to reach back, and then unfortunately, sometimes, for me, I basically kind of like I'm more inclined to listen to those who have kind of like went through the struggles that I went through. Mm-hmm. And so I'm more inclined to kind of like hear their stories and gain the knowledge and insight from them per se. That's just me. So I think the support system, a healthy support, because you can have a variety of different supports. You can have a support, for the criminal aspect. If you want to sell drugs, if you want to sell whatever, you got a support system for that.
Right.
However, the support system I'm speaking about is those that are goal-minded and those who are choosing to have a futuristic goal with aspirations and a passion. Because to me, we all have things that we choose to, get off into, and then we can say, hey, that's something I want to do. This is what I aspire. But it's one thing about us being human beings. We have all a unique, a divine quality that we want more, that we want to give more, that we want to be a part, that we want to belong, and from a higher sense. And so, to me, the essence of within the community that we live in and communities abroad is establishing some type of a support.
Yeah.
Somebody that you can talk to, somebody that would listen to you, somebody that would not judge you, somebody who would accept you unconditionally. With that type of support, I think would be a good motivator.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that support, because that's what we do here at Our Brother's Keeper, is look to support those that want to support themselves. We can't support you if you're not wanting to support yourself. So when we see that you're willing to make changes in your life, we're going to help you wholeheartedly. We're going to help you wholeheartedly even if you don't want changes in your life. But that relationship isn't going to go too far because it's one-sided. But when you join in and help us help you, man, it's a beautiful ending going to happen behind that.
Amen.
Okay. So I'm going to turn it back over now to my co-worker. I'm sure he has a couple of more questions for you. Mr. Bay?
Thanks, Rick. Great stuff. We're just tooling along, ladies and gentlemen, down this path we call life, dealing with situations, and our guest today, Mr. Reginald Shanklin. I remember the liquor stores in the city of East St. Louis where we used to always go in there and get our little drinks. And there was a famous name in the city of East St. Louis. I was rather surprised to meet Mr. Shanklin. I knew who he was by his last name, never met him, but I kind of had an idea that he was of those Shanklins that we all knew. But it's important that we stick to the real issue here is seeing someone from our city who's written a book, who used to be back and forth in the streets of East St. Louis as we all have. Most of us, not all, but most of us who have taken the wrong path in life, to see this gentleman come back out with motivation and encouragement for those who choose to listen or choose to even have an idea to want to sit down and learn something about being better. And as he said, we are our brother's keepers, and we intend to continue to do so. So, Mr. Shanklin, I would like for you, on that note, to expound on the most detrimental parts of society that you had to deal with, what caused you to eventually turn your life around and realize that you had an idea for the children. Could you expound on that?
Yeah. For me, it started off basically kind of like in the rut that I was in, is that I experienced a lot of physical abuse. I experienced, and they're talking about mental, physical, emotional type abuses when I was growing up. And so I've kind of eventually embraced that cycle, in the time past of following, the footsteps of those that I was choosing to look up to, that I considered that were as, mentors or role models.
Absolutely.
And then eventually, that eventually started leading me down a pathway that I've just felt like was not really who I wanted to be or who I was. And so I chose to start using opportunities to just start thinking about what I want to do and who I am and where I want to be and my aspirations and things like that, because I was starting to live up under other people's expectations. My dad's expectations, my mom's expectations, the peers that I was associated with expectations, and I was not living under my expectations. Through a lot of different fears and a lot of different inadequacies and insecurity issues and things like that. So eventually I said, you know what, enough is enough for me. And I started realizing that my way of living was based upon my choices. I love playing the blame game. And make no mistake about it. It's the police fault. It's society's fault.
Yeah.
It's my dad's fault. And I started realizing that even though that they're living their lives is not dictating my life, and it doesn't dictate how I want to move in the future. So I had to at least start realizing that I was the one that was making certain choices, and those choices was landing me in situations that I really didn't want to be in. So going through a repetitive cycle of, and I'm the type of person, you just can't tell me once. I want to go and experience the fire for myself. And
right.
That's unfortunate. I get burned and then I'm like, okay, I get it now. So through that trial and error process, I realized for me that that's not what I really wanted to be. That's not who I was. That's not the foundation that I want to establish for myself. And I started making different choices because it boiled down to the way that I was choosing. And so when I started choosing to invest in myself, I started choosing to see myself in a different light. I started seeing myself aspiring and reaching to avenues that I did not realize that I could reach in, because I was in that rut of self-despair, self-pity, shame, and things like that. And so I started making those choices, and those choices started becoming my building block to different things. And as I started moving forward, I started feeling a sense of empowerment. And with that empowerment, it's like, man, wow, I like this, man, I like having that dictation of where I want to go with my life, and knowing that at the end of the day, I made that choice. And so through there, I just started using different inspiration thoughts, quotes, or whatnot have you, to help me to get through some of those pitfalls throughout my life. And so I wanted to be able to share that with others, and I wanted to give back to the community to be able to see that there is a different choice out of the choice that we sometimes get locked into believing that there is no choice. So that's where I'm at right now, man, is trying to give back, inspiring others, and hoping that they can be empowered to be able to make better choices for themselves.
Amen, amen. Could you describe what you mean in your book by being thankful for your failures?
Well, thankful for my failures is that I used to like to compartmentalize things. You know, I take this, but I won't take that. I take this, but I won't take that. But I realized that everything comes all together. What transpired in my life is what transpired. I can't go back and change 30 years ago. I can't go back and change 20 years ago. So those experiences that I've experienced became building blocks. So I learned how to keep them, and they coexist. They kind of like work together hand in hand. So it's me not forgetting my past, but also it's me not choosing to repeat my past. So the gratitude comes in that despite the things that I wish that I did not go through, I'm able to be able to offer that to other people, and hoping that that could be a different step forward for them to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that I experienced. So I'm thankful to have this opportunity to share and to give based upon my experiences. And so it's a grateful experience to have both without excluding the one or the other.
Amen, brother. I'm inspired. I'm inspired myself. Rick, do you have any more questions for Mr. Shanklin before we close out?
Yes. A couple of more questions there, Brother Shanklin. You know, I'm very familiar with your family, as we talked about, but our listening and viewing audience doesn't know that my first job was with your dad, working in one of his liquor stores. I was 15 years old, and Abe said, "Hey, boy, you want a job?" And I was like, "Yeah." At 15, you know, yeah, I want a job. I had just moved in the neighborhood. The liquor store was right on the corner. I mean, I didn't have to walk a block to work. And I didn't know I was going to be making $2 an hour. Your dad was an astute businessman, to say the least. And I admired his business practices so much because I could see that, man, he kept his place immaculate. He had different liquors than all the other liquor stores had. He had exotic stuff in his liquor store. For that time in East St. Louis, that was rare. Because, you know, usually liquor stores have the same, everyone has the same thing. Abe had a lot of exotic liquors in his store. And the store was well kept clean and put together, and he was just immaculate. He demanded that. And I was the one that did a lot of that work. Your dad was something else, man. He was, but you know, when I think of Abe, I think of a man who was about his business, and he employed his family. His wife was there, your mother. His brother was there. So that's how you know, grow family wealth, is put your family in the business. Now, East St. Louis is called City of Champions. Why so? And do you think of yourself as a champion?
Yes, and in my perception, I think everybody in the city of East St. Louis is champions. You know, we sometimes define champions as somebody that went through you know, think of it like a race. And we consider sometimes the champion as the one that finished the race. Mm-hmm. I believe that each and every one of us is champion because we run in various different races at our own speed, at our own course. And I believe that with that, we can all choose to kind of like navigate it, whereas it can be effective, and that's what I want to speak about. The effect, doing things effectively. I mean, like for me, I mean, I used to run. I ran away from home, so I can run. I used to want to run cross country. That's
Right.
why I'm a runner. However, but what was I running for to be effective, or was I just running just for just meeting from one destination to the next destination? However, even though I was going through one destination to another destination, doesn't negate me not being a champion. So that's kind of like the piece that sometimes we overlook, and we tend to kind of not give ourselves that credit. So every day is a journey, every single day.
That's true.
And to wake up and to be able to still go to school, to wake up to still be able to be a part of a family, and because you got a variety of, like I've experienced a variety of different things within East St. Louis. I experienced, and witnessed people, taking care of their brothers and their sisters and stuff like that. When a mom is kind of like struggling and she's trying to make sure that things get put on the table. That's a champion. You know what I'm saying? That's a champion is somebody that's just simply walking down the street and just greeting somebody. Good morning, how are you doing? That's a champion. So to me, little bitty bits and pieces of things that we do from day to day, to me, defines a champion.
So in other words, you don't have to run a race and win to be a champion.
Exactly.
You can be a champion by helping the little old lady cross the street.
Exactly. Showing an act of kindness to someone, even right now in this moment, what this organization represents, our Brother's Keeper, to me, that's a champion.
Thank you.
So, I mean, y'all might not have got to your ultimate destination, but for right now, in this moment, tomorrow's not promised to any of us. So with that taken from the moment right now, to me, those are champion moments.
One last question there, Mr. Shankin. Thank you. And this is a champion moment. Do you plan to write any more books? And if so, what topics would you write?
Yeah, the next book I got is my autobiography. It's just going to detail, my upbringing, East St. Louis, my journeys that I've experienced throughout my life, and then the end result. However, the chapter is to be continued, because as long as God give me the breath to breathe,
Right.
I'm still existing. So it will still be an ongoing saga. However, I would have to cut it off to some point. And right now, being the author of one book, plus I started a foundation, which is I Am Foundation Reach Out LLC, is to be able to provide support services, motivational speaking, and life coaching services to other individuals as we speak right now. So yes, the next book will be an autobiography of just detailing my life story, and hoping that it would be an inspiration to others.
Well, you've definitely been an inspiration to us, Brother Shanklin, and we're here to view Mr. Shanklin's book, Inspirational Quotes, and also hear about his upcoming book, which will be an autobiography. Thank you very much for this session of Our Brother's Keeper